allocation to be shared to those states. They couldn't even, 32 states could not even pay worker salaries. What if we have found ourselves in that same situation? We will not be talking of this now. A government that cannot pay salary cannot talk of capital projects. Cannot think of, we're talking of recurrent expenditure. You can't even run your regular operations. So we are actually facing a lot at the same time. You need revenue in one hand. Our oil production has plummeted because of oil bunkering and breaking of pipelines in the Niger Delta. We are producing less than 1.5 million as at then dollars a day, barrels a day, which is not sustaining our economy. You need more revenue from that side. At the same time, you don't have money to sustain another subsidy, which is the criminal cartel we are talking about. What do you do as a president? First of all, you need to recover. You are between the devil and the deep blue sea. You need money here. You need to incur expenditure here. And you cancel this out to get more money from there. Because your source of money, which is oil, is not forthcoming. And your reserve that you're supposed to run to, you're having a patry around $30 billion in your reserve. And at the same time, carrying a liability with JP Morgan that runs it to $10 to $15 billion again. Imagine they're supposed to, there's a garnishing order today on that our reserve. Mm-hmm. We would have been in a balance of payment crisis and balance of trade crisis. Where would we have been?
As of today, I mean, just it's virtually 5 months since subsidy payments was suspended. Just a few weeks after the suspension of payment of subsidy, the government had told us under President Tinubu that about 400 billion had been saved, and that was supposed to be some excitement for Nigerians. So far, I mean, if we were to look at it from that perspective, the trajectory is we would have saved trillions as of today from suspension of payment of subsidies. Have we made sense of those monies realized from suspending payment of subsidies?
So far, I think we have saved about 2.something trillion.
And that's reasonable?
Yeah, that is reasonable one side. Mm-hmm. Remember, this money that belongs to the 36 states of the Federation, not just federal government. I keep hammering on this until we begin to look at Nigeria holistically from the point that the leaders of Nigeria are the leaders of 36 states, the president, and 774 local governments. This money is shared across. It's not accruing to the federal government alone. And inside these gains from subsidy, the government is being able to sustain its operation, create some form of palliative, run across the same state, giving some 5 billion to state governors, creating infrastructural support fund to assist other states. And when the manifestation starts, we will also be here. Because at this point now, we are trying to rejig the entire system. The more money we are earning from this, remember we still have our forest, because the two major policies that the administration announced when it came to power is the forest unification and the subsidy removal. And you can see the implication of the forest unification right now, which is temporary backlash that we are facing, where the dollar is now about 1,000 something naira to $1. Because the supply end, we are not earning much to supply more forex to the market. It's market force purely. So when that is stabilized now, like he said like the Minister of Finance said in Nigeria Economic Summit Group, that in the next few weeks we're expecting about $10 billion
from NNPC.
Not necessarily. No, apart from the NNPC's own, there are other ways. We have our assets that are going to be disposed. We talked about it on this program, federal government asset, a whole lot. We have some FDIs that are coming in that are going to show up. He said apart from NNPC. You understand? These are just immediate way, because we are facing a situation whereby there is more demand for forests and there is less supply of the dollar. How do you earn the currency? How do you earn dollar as a country? It's based on what you export and the FDI that comes to your country. So we are exporting less and we are trying to improve export to earn more forex. That is the gain of the valuation or the long run. If we encourage more exports, this is just short-run crisis we are facing now that we're trying to manage. as we enter the first quarter of 2024, all of us will begin to see a positive rebound in the whole system.
So in the meantime, Nigerians should be patient with the president.
Absolutely, because the policies are being put in place. Effort are being made, practical effort, like the quick wins of the fiscal policy and tax reform committee of yesterday. You look at the quick win they are trying to the quick win for the main time. You understand? Creative waivers, tax incentives, the waiver for diesel. When the diesel comes down, you can look at under the Keynesian economic theory, the multiplier effect. Boost when the diesel comes down and the 43 items on the ban list. You understand? When there are incentive for those items, having access to forest to bring them in. These are all short run because we are still going to drive production on the long run. Then consumption will improve. When consumption improves, growth, expansion, economic expansion will come to play. And remember, in your GDP calculation, you talk of consumption, net export, and production. You understand? Consumption and production, they work pari passu. So it takes an ingenious leader to actually marry these two, because those are the two things we need now. We need to produce. We need to be a productive economy. But to achieve a production or production-based economy, you need to be alive first. You understand?
Right.
Our consumption index is falling, is eroding. The confidence in the consumer confidence is eroding because they are earning less. So how do you boost it? That is what the tax reform and the fiscal policy reform committees are quickly trying to address. Create incentive for private sector economy, whereby your payee, your personal income taxes will be less. You now have more in your hand to spend. You have more in your hand to save, and savings leads to investment.
Let me just bring an angle difference into the conversation. The president is now talking about a $1 trillion economy. How feasible is that, given the realities we have in front of us now?
Okay, if you look at his budget, we are going to be having a 31 trillion budget deficit in the next 3 years. You understand?
31 trillion.
Yeah. What is the advantage of driving a budget deficit? Because it's shifting the finance of that deficit to the private sector. And all of us have agreed that in a capitalist economy or in democracy, the real drivers of the economy are the private sectors. Some of the major investors that are going to come to finance some of these things in the budget are going to come from PPP, public-private arrangements. You understand? And when you are doing that, the GDP of the economy, the investment, the FDI will be improving, and the economy will be expanding. We are already in about 500 billion economy right now. He is telling you that in the next few years, we are targeting about 1 trillion economy. And we have the capacity to do that. We have the market, we have the size, we have the resources. The industrial, the solid mineral sector is being opening up. The minister of solid mineral is doing a lot there. A lot of reforms is going on. A lot of investments are coming. In the banking sector, a lot of investment, and they were driving financial inclusive activity. So we are going to achieve, it's achievable. Because when you tend towards a budget deficit financing, towards the private sector involvement in it, you have a lot in your hand to use as a government. Imagine some road or concession. Imagine towing some road. You understand what I mean? You now say, okay, you construct this 5-lane as a private this thing. You have arrangement with Julius Berger. They construct the 5-lane from Edo to Abuja, and you put toll gates like the SCC is doing with Lekki toll gates. When you tow all this road and the private sector are the one building it, you are saving money that would have been used by government for other things.
All right, that sounds pretty smart. But I want us to turn to our second discussion this morning, which has to do with the P&ID case.
Yeah.
Of course, you and I know that case has been a long time coming.
Of course.
As it stands now, it appears there's closure, even though we are hearing there's room for appeal. But we're not just going to get ahead of ourselves. I want us to talk about what these verdicts in London means for Nigeria and what lessons we can take away from it. Yeah,
before then, I want to use this opportunity to actually enlighten the younger generation in Nigeria.
About the history of the case.
Yeah, the historical perspective, where we have to look at where we are coming from and what led us to this. The P&ID issue came up in 2010, and it was a fraudulent, in quotes, a fraudulent deal that was consummated between some Britons and their Nigerian collaborators who created a Process and Industrial Development Limited company that never had an office in Nigeria. How they managed to get a 20 years gas pipeline contract to be with a start point at Odukpanu in Cross River State. 20 years contract given to a company that by all indications and due diligence does not have a traceable fiscal office or operation base. You know, that tells you how unpatriotic we can be. How do you give this kind of people this kind of job? You know, at the end of the day, the people claim that they've invested through their process in Nigeria. They've invested about $400 and something million into what projects? A project that never commenced. They now accuse the federal government of defaulting, that federal government never met their part of the bargain. The money you were paying or you were sending from abroad to Nigeria was not, which account was it being paid to? Definitely to oil because this is what happened across ministries and MDAs, where contracts, fictitious or funded contracts are awarded, invoices are prepared, and money just leaves the coffers of government for projects that never existed. You understand? So those collaborators that ate the money was not traceable to federal government account or to any state government account, and they went to court, and they got a judgment, which the then minister of the controversial then minister of petroleum, Alisi Madueke, who is facing trial for monumental corruption now in the same year, UK, approached Goodluck Jonathan that there is need for negotiation of the total money. As and then, when interest was calculated, to 2014, from 2010 to 2014, it was around $6.something billion, and it was negotiated. She went ahead to negotiate on behalf of the federal government that we should pay $840 million for some. Nigeria should cough out $840 million to people that we don't know, a company that never did anything, a not traceable company that is not a not tax, is never paid any tax to Nigeria. We've never benefited, but because we have people who are bent on devaluing and reducing the commonwealth or patrimony of Nigeria for their collective selfish interest. And Goodluck Jonathan, that was May 15th, before he handed over. Few days to handing over, Goodluck Jonathan reneged and said he was not going to approve this because few days to handing over. The incoming government will definitely have a say on this. Like, why did you have to approve $800 and something million for something that you've not investigated or something that you don't have much grasp about? And Goodluck deferred it, and Buhari came. Buhari apparently rejected it. Until 2018, the thing kept going on, and with the interest being calculated, the amount amounted to $9.something billion then, about $9.6 billion. In 2018, Professor Yemi Osinbajo discovered the fraud in the whole arrangement, that this company never existed, this company never did anything, this company, the whole process of the award of the agreement they signed was porous, was conjectured, and was filled with deliberate satisfaction. People initiated class variables into this agreement to satisfy their whims and caprices, including the director of Lega at the Ministry of Petroleum Resources, who was later arrested, the lady that was later picked up by the EFCC. And that was when the whole issue have to be revisited at the courts. So Buhari have to cry out, even in United Nations meeting, when he went for hunger meeting in 2019, he cried to the whole world that the world leaders, so people are trying to rip Nigeria off, because if a garnishing order is given on that amount, it would have affected our reserve, because they will just issue the order to debit our reserve to the tune of 9.6 billion. So the thing has been dragging on till it became 11.something billion. And thank God the judgment has come, and we have a justice system that is straightforward, looking at the veritable aspect of the whole issue and realizing that this is pure an attempt to defraud the country. Let's be frank. If you deal with Nigerians, you dealt with Nigerians. Go and hold them for whatever money you use during that period. The government individual, those people in government who were collecting this money telling you they are doing this for you and doing that for you. They are alive.
In other words, the entire time P&ID had been dealing with individuals,
of course,
not Nigeria as a country.
Individuals working within the government circles, but driving their own individual interests, purportedly claiming to have signed an agreement on behalf of the Nigerian government.
So what does all of this mean today?
It tells us, because we have a lot of P&IDs. God just saved Nigeria. Imagine the economic crisis we are having right now. We are hustling for $10 billion to cushion the forex issue here, and we have a judgment of 11.6 billion to be debited into our foreign reserve. There would have been economics comatose. Yeah, right now. So we thank God, and it's a wake-up call on all of us as a country and as those in government. They should be. We should. I think the biggest challenge beyond politics is the bureaucracy in Nigeria. The bureaucratic aspects, the civil service need to be well checked. A lot is going on there. How do you go without due diligence? You go into signing an agreement. All agreements should be well coordinated, and the office of the Attorney General should be involved. Yes, the ICPC, the EFC, they should all be carried along. If they are not part of this whole thing, any government agreement, partnership, MOU or whatever,
is null, void and of no consequence whatsoever.
Of course.
I'd like to say thank you to you, Comrade Aruna Braimo, Director of Media and Publicity, United Nations International Peace Commission, for coming to share your valuable thoughts with us on the program this morning.
Thank you very much.
All right.
It was my pleasure.
We're taking a quick break now. We're back shortly to have, just continue this conversation with another guest. Do stay with us.